Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Douglas School Committee meeting to order now. The Douglas Public Schools offers diverse learning experience that meet the academic, social, physical, and emotional well-being of all students. We provide a safe, supportive, and challenging learning environment in which students may achieve academic success and personal growth. Decisions are made in the best interest of the students. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for anybody that's here, 2 of our members are remote tonight. Can we have our student representatives? Addison Ocella and Christopher Ballou. If you guys want to go right here.
Hi, my name is Christopher and I'm here with Addie. We are student council members at the middle school. There are a lot of exciting things happening around the middle school. All Douglas fall sports have ended their season and the athletes are looking forward to the basketball season starting. Tryouts for middle school will be on Wednesday, December 3rd, after high school varsity and JV teams are finalized. We are also beginning the cheer season at the same time. The first home games will be on December 17th. 7th and 8th graders are also allowed to participate on the winter track team, and their first practice is Monday, December 2nd. We are so excited to start this new sports season.
Our school had a very successful food drive this year. We brought 846 items to St. Denis Church on Tuesday afternoon. We are proud of our school and we made 50 families' holidays better. Since we reached and exceeded our goal of 600 items, the Student Council is hosting a school-wide Biggie Ball tournament on November 27th. We are preparing for our annual Snowflake Drive taking place November 25th and December 6th. We are donating 6 gift cards to Douglas families in need. On December 13th, Student Council is putting on a glacial gala for middle school students. Cost is $8 at the door. The excited students will be thrilled to have an amazing night and fun experience hosted by the Student Council in the middle school cafeteria.
Mr. O'Brien celebrated Student of the Month this past week with chosen students and their families with a breakfast and presentation of certificates. The 8th, 7th, and 6th grade teachers selected their Student of the Month awards who showed grit, academic achievement, and citizenship. We are well into quarter 2 and working hard. Progress reports will be out after Christmas break.
In 8th grade, students are learning about the different types of waves and their characteristics. In science, and discovering the Declaration of Independence in civics. In math, we are learning to solve 2-step equations with variables on both sides of the equation. We are reviewing prepositional phrases, learning new vocabulary, and writing a response to literature essay. In Spanish, we are learning about the Day of the Dead. We watched Coco in Spanish and are creating our own alebrije.
In 7th grade news, they are learning how to prevent the transfer of heat from conduction, convection, and radiation by doing a fun project with ice penguins and trying to make homes to prevent them from leaving and the seagulls eating their eggs. In science, in math, they had a STAR testing today to see how far they've come in learning skills. In class, we are learning about combining like terms. In social studies, we focus in on ancient India religions and ancient India. A unit test is coming up next week. In ELA, we are learning about perspective in text. We are also reading Ground Zero and have a test coming up about pages 120 through 200. So we will be rereading and reviewing those.
Downstairs in 6th grade, they did their first lab of the year in science with graham crackers and fluff. They all enjoyed it and had an exciting time doing this experience. They are learning about algebraic expressions in math. To do this, they did a fun monster activity and played games to have a fun way of learning experience these expressions. In social studies, they're learning about all the Paleolithic era. They're filling out notes in their notebooks to help them study and learn more about this era. In English, they're working on their summer reading slideshow. Over the summer, they worked hard to complete these summer reading activities, so they're doing a fun project to show off their amazing work.
Students are having a great year so far with fun events and many more to come. We are thrilled to have such a school that teaches us what we need to know and more. Thank you for having us and have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Can I have one follow-up question?
Sure.
When did you say the dance is?
The dance would be on December 13th.
December 13th, okay. And that dance you guys have at the middle school, right? No more dances up here?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for bringing them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next on our agenda is public comment. Is anybody here for public comment? Come on up. And if you could just please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Jonna Peliquin, 10 Fairbanks Court in Douglas.
Thank you.
Today I come in to speak to school committee as a member of the community. And I am also employed at Douglas Middle School as a paraprofessional, and I am the DESPA union president, so that we are clear, as well as co-athletic director. This has not been a very good year for most of us. It has not started out as good as, actually, I don't ever remember any of us ever having a year start out like this. We are still having a lot of issues. One of them being lack of training with Power School. Some of us don't have access to Power School. Support staff doesn't have access to Power School. And a lot of the other new systems that we have, we got new textbooks. Most of the paraprofessionals were unable to access the textbooks that they needed to access in order to help the students with their homework. It's been a rough year, to say the least. The stress level is extremely high on everyone. I think we all feel like we're starting the year for the first time. Power School was not the transition that a lot of us, I thought or felt or hoped it would be. And we're finding a lot of other things along the way. One of my biggest concerns, though, is for the students at Douglas. I've been asked to follow the chain of command, which I've done several times. I've had multiple conversations with principals, with Dr. Vieira, with teachers that I feel could give me input. We're here now on November 20th, and a lot of things still aren't fixed. They're adjusted, perhaps. I know that a lot of things are still in a work in progress. Things have been addressed with schedules and so on and so forth, but it's still being worked out. I personally, and I know that this is not felt the same way, I feel that we are understaffed and undersupported. I feel the expectations of our support staff is become unrealistic, and that our support staff is not as efficient as they used to be. We used to hire a 7th grade inclusion para, and that was your job. You were 7th grade inclusion, you worked with 7th grade students. Our 7th grade inclusion para now works with 7th grade students, and then she goes to 6th grade. And the 6th grade para, that's inclusion, will come up and she works in 8th grade science or 7th grade science. We have a lot of paras and ABAs, or let me just use support staff, that are bouncing from grade to grade or class to class, trying to do our jobs, trying to support our students, trying to do what's right and consistent for them. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if this is a SPED, if this is a schedule, if this is, I don't know what that is. And I'm not even going to even try to, it's above my head. But my concern is being that these students, and I run the ADC, and a lot of the students don't have the consistency of the same support staff being with them across the classes. I feel that that inconsistency allows a lot of assignments and other things to drop by the wayside. I hear a student that I was supporting in class, and he's with another paraprofessional, say, "No, I don't have any homework in math today," and I walk out and I go, "Yes, you do, because I was in there with you." But if I wasn't there, that student would have went home. Granted, they need to own some of that themselves. So I know that it's a work in progress right now. It's not that it's being ignored. It's not that it's not being addressed. It is being addressed. But my fear is the speed it's being addressed. And I'm not saying that anyone's dragging their feet. I don't want it to be taken that way. But my concern is for some of these students. And I don't just mean students in 7th grade. I mean them 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I don't believe that this issue is just in the middle school either, which is why I say, as a community member, my feedback that I've gotten from other paras in other buildings is there are some concerns there as well. I don't have the particulars on them. I've told them to address them with their principals or their SPED teachers, as this is, this is not something that I handle. I do have certain scenarios but I would rather not give those scenarios at this point in time. I have made sure not to make anyone's name or anything in there, but I just don't feel comfortable doing that at this point in time. I feel like we're putting Band-Aids on in some areas, and it's whoever's making the loudest noise. And sometimes the person making the loudest noise probably may not have the biggest problem. And that's where I get concerned as well. And like I said, the scheduling, the dynamics of what we have going on, I don't know what justification there is. I've been given several. I don't feel that there is a justification when it comes to the learning of a student. I feel that we are short-staffed. I feel that we are becoming inefficient in how we support our students. My fear is we are losing students through the cracks. My fear is we are out of compliance when we pull one from one to another. People aren't thinking sometimes, or looking at that's a compliance issue.
Are we at 3 minutes, Chairperson?
I was gonna I didn't.
We are,
want it-
okay.
Yes.
Then that's fine.
And respectfully, not that we don't want to hear you, but just.
No,
to
no,
keep-
no, I know it's 3 minutes, and I've just been trying to get through my notes and be as clear as possible. That's all I wanted to say, just my concerns, and that was it.
Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else here for public comment today? Okay. Next up, do we have any old business?
We do not.
New business, middle school volleyball.
I'm excited to have our varsity and junior varsity coach come up to talk a little bit about some thoughts, ideas, suggestions, vision they have for the volleyball program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my name is Brett Argel. I'm the JV volleyball coach at Douglas High School.
And I'm Greg Bernard. I'm the varsity volleyball coach at Douglas High School.
Nice to meet you.
So here today to advocate for funding of a middle school volleyball program in the 25-26 fiscal budget and beyond. This is something that Greg and I have talked about since I've started working with him in the volleyball program, which is about 4 years now. And I know it's something that Ms. Peliquin, also as our middle school athletic director, has wanted. And we've been in discussions about with Mr. O'Brien about it as well. He's fully supportive of it. So we're hoping just that this is something that we can maybe push over the finish line this year. I've sat in your seat, so I appreciate the time tonight, as well as appreciate that any financial decision, even if it's relatively small dollar amounts to commit to the whole budget, is not an easy one. So I don't take that for granted at all. Overall, volleyball is an amazing sport. I've probably participated in just about every team sport you can imagine, and nothing really compares to volleyball when it comes to fostering cooperation, coordination, communication amongst its players. Really, you can't be successful on the floor on any given point without the whole team working together. It's also a sport that really generates and thrives on energy, positive energy. And all those are attributes that I think are really great for middle school students. And I think bringing volleyball to our middle school kids would be a really positive impact for them. Participation in volleyball in the last several years has grown tremendously at both the national and the local level. So there's some materials in that package. It's all reference materials. But on the top there's the NFHS 2022-23 survey. There's over 470,000 girls participating in volleyball. It's the second largest participation sport for female athletes, only behind track and field. And that's as of the 22-23 survey. It was fully expected that volleyball was going to surpass that by this year and beyond. Ideally, volleyball has team sizes of 10 to 12 athletes. It gives you about 22 to 24 athletes in a JV varsity program. I think last year we had 28 kids that we carried with no cuts, and this year we carried 31.
Wow.
So we're carrying well over what would normally be capacity because we want kids playing. And even with carrying 31 players this year, we turned away 6 7th graders and 5 8th graders, which we would normally try to carry. In the 28 that we carried last year, I carried 2 7th graders, one of them who's here tonight as an 8th grader, one of our biggest success stories. She was actually a captain for our team as an 8th grader even. So, just volleyball has been something that for a lot of our players has just been a really positive impact on their lives. Unlike the big 3 sports of soccer, baseball, softball, and basketball, there's no youth programs in our area for kids to kind of come up in. So typically when a player shows up at their first tryout for Douglas High School volleyball, they've never played competitive volleyball before. We're training them from scratch. So just another reason why adding a middle school program, not only a positive for the kids, but it's a positive for our high school program overall. We can have kids come in with some experience, with some training already, and overall have a better experience and more competitive experience for our high school programs. Greg talks to the other high school coaches, varsity coaches around, the more successful ones in Millbury, in Nipmuc, in Whitensville, and asks, what's the key to a successful program? And what do they say every time?
Middle school.
Start a
middle school program.
So, Whitensville Christians added a middle school program this year for the first time. Misco's had a program for quite some time. But we also have several other schools in the area that have them. Millbury, a tremendous program up there, has had a middle school program for a while. We also have programs in Bellingham, Milford, Hopkinton. So there's other areas that, schools that we could play if we were to have a program. Last thing, kind of just for the financials, just volleyball overall, incredible welcoming sport. We've had many of our players come through our program the last few years, no experience in team sports at all. They've come to us as dancers, they've come to us as gymnasts, they've come to us never playing any sport before, and they pick it up, and it becomes something that they absolutely love. We've had players come to us that have been, playing basketball since they were this big, and everyone just assumed that was always been their main sport. And now they're like, yeah, coach, I told everybody that volleyball's my main sport now. So it's just something that once you start playing it, it just becomes infectious. And, we want to see that kind of infection kind of take further roots in our middle school here. So, and it's just also another sport that, I've seen the impact that it's had on some individual kids. Kids that maybe didn't know where they fit in. These were kids I started working with in middle school, kind of how, what direction they were going in. And once they latched on to volleyball, you could just see kind of everything clear up for them as far as kind of a little more direction in their life and just, a better outlook, for how they were going to proceed through their middle school and high school years. So, any questions on any of that in your packet?
I don't want to incorrectly quote your stats, and I know you're both humble people, but can you talk a little bit about the success of the program the past half dozen years?
Yeah, so I'll brag for this guy a little bit. So, so I think we've been to the CMAS championship 3 out of 4 years.
3 out of the last 4 years.
Wow.
So we've been knocking on the door
Really
for a
impressive.
CMAS championship. But also as the varsity team's made a couple deep runs in the state tournament as well. And unfortunately run into, the eventual champion a couple times over the last couple of years as well. To some schools that are just volleyball powerhouses, ultimately. I don't necessarily focus on successes in the same way the JV program. My job is to get players ready to come up and play varsity. So we don't really look at wins and losses and stuff like that. It's more about, do I take someone that's never touched a volleyball and now created, someone who can, come up and contribute at varsity. More importantly, someone that loves the game. And the back 2 pages of that packet there, and probably the next to last page, is this document that I hand out every year to my players and my families, and just talks about what my goals are. And again, winning's not in there from a JV perspective. It's really about kind of fostering teamwork, learning the game, and creating a lifelong love of the game.
And I also want to give Brett kudos too, that I know a couple times, we've had a lot of middle school kids who wanted to play, but because of numbers, they weren't able to play. And I know you dedicated and donated some of your time to run a de facto middle school program with skills and everything, multiple days a week over multiple weeks to get the kids, at least the ones who couldn't play, at least give them that opportunity to
It's just a
the
game
team
I love,
field of
and
practice,
I
so
want to give as
thank
many
you for
people a chance to experience it as possible. So thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you for that.
So, from a financials perspective, and again, Ms. Pelican helped put this together for us. The cost for a startup year is about $8,000. There's some details in there of that. Most of that cost is coach, busing, officials. There is quite a bit of equipment needed for the kind of a one-time initially to get us going, about $2,600 in equipment for the first year. Only a couple $100 of that is repeatable on an annual basis, and uniforms would probably be about $800 about every 4 years, 5 years to replace uniforms. So you're looking at ongoing costs of about $5,000. A lot of that offset by the user fees. And that's based on an 8-game schedule. We figured we'd start off with an 8-game schedule. Looking at the middle school programs that are out there right now, they're playing more like 12-game schedules. So if you extrapolate out the cost to a 12-game schedule, you get closer to maybe $5,000 annual going on there. So.
Does anybody either online or at the table have any questions? Heather, Julie, do you have any questions? Give them a second to see if they need to unmute for anything. I think they're good. I just want to say I got to go to some of the varsity games.
Yeah.
Oh, are they trying to unmute Scott? Go ahead, Heather.
No, and thank you so much, Brett, for coming. I have no questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Julia, do you have any questions?
No questions. This sounds like a great program.
The energy I felt in the gym that day, all the kids, it was just great. We've had a blast.
Yeah,
So
it's exciting stuff.
to be able to do this for our
excited.
students,
Yeah.
for this cost, to me is money well spent personally.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I won't take up any more of your time.
Thank you for coming out.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
And moving on to the superintendent's school choice update.
I'm going to start off with 2 things that are not on the agenda quickly. One, a huge congratulations and shout out to our girls varsity soccer team who are playing in the state finals on Saturday at 2 p.m. against Hull at Curry College. So they've had a great run through the tournament. For people, 4 sports people here who get what it is to get that deep into the tournament and how many games you have to win. And remember, the season starts back. There's preseason, then the official season starts that 3rd week of August. So really excited to have our girls play in the state finals at Curry against Hull at 2 p.m. on Saturday. So it'll be great to see people there. Next, I think a couple times we've spoken about school security and a partnership that we had with the town. About 2.5 years ago, we entered into discussions with Mr. Wojcik, Board of Selectmen Finance Committee, in terms of looking at security here in the school system. And we were very fortunate for the town to be able to appropriate and vote on an additional school resource officer for this year. So we have 2 school resource officers, which are great. There was also some funding allocated to start a camera project here in the district. So upgrading cameras in the district, think approximately 80 new cameras inside and out at the high school, down to about 35, 40 cameras in the primary school, all new servers, all new switches. We were able to start the project a couple weeks ago, but we needed final commitment from the town at town meeting to finish the project. So I'm grateful, one, for the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Wojcik, and for the Finance Committee for putting that on the warrant article. It was the second warrant article, but more thankful for the community for approving that project. So happy to say that we'll now be able to finish the complete project here with hopes of having it done around January. So just a thank you to the community for supporting it, but also to people on the municipal side for also seeing it through over the past 2.5 years and getting that on the warrant article for the town meeting. So that's awesome. The only thing on my report tonight, and I forgot my glasses, so I hope I can see the numbers, is just an update on enrollment. And I do this every year just for people to be able to, in the committee, just to see where we are at. So really, if you look at enrollment, going back to 2014 to present time, we've seen a decline in enrollment of about 400 students over the past 10 years. Since COVID, we've been relatively consistent, plus or minus about 20, 30 kids. We're hovering right in around that 1120, 1130, 1140 for students. If you look at school receiving and school sending, it's a report that we've done. We have 90 school choice students in this year. At our peak back in the 2014, 2015, we were running about 124. So we have seen a decline in school choice in the past 3-4 years. A lot of that is we started setting caps, especially at the elementary schools, to keep those class sizes down. And then we're just following this through for people to see. And obviously, numbers go down because enrollment's down as well, too. So we've seen our school choice sending decrease over the past few years. Our homeschool, we saw that big spike for COVID. It maintained, and it started to decrease. Our private school spending has been, our private school sending, not spending, has been relatively consistent over the past 5 years. Our BVT numbers have been consistent over the past 4 or 5 years. Our Aggie numbers are down, and the Aggie tuition is high. And then our school total sending, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, was about 370 kids. We're down to 335. But obviously, when you have less students, there's less to send out. So just a quick little snapshot as to where we are. We've closed school choice back, I believe, in early October, early or mid-October. We closed school choice, but this is just a snapshot of enrollment across the district over the past 10 years and where we are today.
Does anybody have any questions?
Not at this time for me.
Online, do you guys have any questions?
No, thank you.
I do not, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just looking at, so on the teaching numbers, the teaching staff and the para and the ABA numbers, are these positions we have or are people in positions?
Those are FTEs that we have budgeted for.
Okay. So we have budgeted for 7 more teachers this year than last year. Like 7 more total staff this year than last year.
Last year, we were 117. This year, we're at 119.
Right, and then
Oh, you added the two together?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then, so,
As you remember, we added the positions.
Those positions.
We added the, halfway through last year, we added through the adjustment counselor, we added the STEM teacher, and we added the high school special education teacher.
and we also had a decrease in enrollment of like 26 kids from last year.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just trying to,
I know.
Yeah,
keep all the,
I'm
I'm
like,
trying
can we
to
just
piece,
put the math right here for me?
yeah, I'm just trying to piece all the, looking as we're, continuing to develop the budget and looking at those things, just
And again,
tracking is important.
and again, some of the increased staff members that we've added are for those specialty fields that.
Oh, I think we need
Yeah.
more staff members. I
So,
don't think we
yeah,
need
yeah.
less, but I'm
So,
just,
and that's a question, as we see the decrease in enrollment, to do it. At the high school, we want to make sure the kids have those opportunities to take classes, so we have a lot of singleton classes. So again, we don't want to eliminate opportunities for kids. So you might have had a AP Lit class that had 18 kids in it, and this year it only has 12, but you still want to make sure the kids have that
Absolutely.
opportunity to take those classes.
No, absolutely, and I think it's a little more, sometimes I think it's a little more cost-effective to run a smaller district than costs are a little bit more running a smaller district than a larger district because your numbers don't balance out everything.
Correct.
Balancing the opportunity.
Yes, well, no, I
very
mean,
important. Yeah.
and we want to keep our kids, right? We want to keep them from middle school to high school. We don't want them to leave, so. Alrighty, that's all my questions. Thank you. Anything else on your report tonight?
That's it for tonight. And just for people to know, next week, we're going to be doing, we did our screener for Panorama for around SEL, so principals will come in and do their report on the SEL. So what did the data show? What are we changing in our morning meeting? What are we changing in our interventions? What are we changing in advisory? So that'll be next week. No, sorry, 2 weeks.
December 4th.
Sorry.
December
The next-
4th.
The next meeting, which is in 2
December 4th.
weeks, sorry.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, we
late.
gotta
I know, I was like, I'm like, next week's
No,
the
no,
night
not next
before
week. Next week's
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. No, 2 weeks.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
All right, so moving on to the school committee and subcommittee report, accounts payable.
Do you want me to do it from here?
You got it, girl. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Let me pull up the numbers. All right. So for warrant, oh God, I'm doing it on my phone. Warrant 15 SCH 25 with a date of October 10th, 2024. There was a total of 9 batches for a grand warrant total amount of $127,230.66. There were no issues or concerns. Next up on our list is, gotta zoom in, warrant 18 SCH 25, DHS 25-03, and DMS 25-03. With a date of October 31st, 2024. There was a batch total of 14 with a grand warrant total of $251,320.30. Again, no irregularities or concerns. And then...
Do you want me to take over because I signed these two, Julia?
Oh, heck yeah.
Sorry, guys, I could have helped you out. I'm sorry.
Preemptive strike. So warrant number 19 SCH 25 dated November 7th. 7 items in the amount of $229,715.80. Nothing out of the ordinary with that one. And then warrant number 16 SCH 25 and DMS 25-02 dated October 31st and October 17th. 9 items in the amount of $80,904.49. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Thank you. Moving on to our consent agenda. We have the school committee meeting minute notes from October 16th. You could take a look at these and see how they look for you. And if nobody has any questions on these, I'd be looking for a motion.
I move to approve the October 16th, 2024 school committee meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone?
You have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, roll call vote.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Meg Rodson, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Julia Lagerholm, aye.
Beth Bergstrom, aye. Alrighty. And school business and operation manager report.
Oh, that came quick.
Isn't it wonderful?
The only thing I have for you this evening is FY 2025 reclassifications number 2, dated for this evening, November 20th, 2024. And we are moving some district-wide sped transportation invoices from the general fund account into the special ed circuit breaker revolving fund transportation account.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Nope. All right, we'll be looking for a motion.
I move to approve the FY 2025 reclassifications number 2 on today's meeting, November 20th, 2024.
Motion by Teresa, second by?
Meg.
Do we have to do a roll call vote because you're on there?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
Roll call vote, please.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Meg Rhodes and I.
Heather Moore and I.
Julia Lagerholm, aye.
Beth Bergstrom, aye. All right. And Allison, if you want to come up.
So I have, so happy to have Allison O'Rourke here this evening. She's our food service director, and we've been excited about having her come to the school committee to present. She's been definitely involved in a lot of things in the district, not only getting acclimated, but doing a number of very fun and wonderful things for the district, so we wanted to show you.
Wonderful.
So I made a little presentation.
And I didn't know if it might be easier for you guys. Did you want to maybe, I don't know if you want to sit down here, if it's easier for your necks, so you don't have to, I've been meaning. You know what? We used to do that years ago, and I've been meaning to mention that. Because that way you don't have to crook your neck. So, all right.
So I just wanted to provide a food service update so far for this year, some things that we've been working on that we've introduced, and kind of a comparison of where we are at right now compared to last year. So we started with Local Produce Thursdays in October. So every Thursday, I am featuring a local produce on our menu. So I go on the Worcester Regional Food Hub where we find local farms, and I try to find things that are in season, and I will feature it on the menu, whether we're making a soup with that type of stuff, or if we're doing a side. We did Harvest Crunch salad, butternut squash that was local, carrots, and apples. So far, we made local apple crisp at the end of October. Some of the farms that we featured are Carlson Orchards. We did cinnamon sweet potato fries from Joe, I cannot pronounce his last name's farm. So those were exciting. We've increased scratch cooking, so we added new menu items such as savory breakfast tacos with local tomatoes for breakfast, the chicken kung pao bowl, which you'll see some pictures of in the following slides, with rice and broccoli, all made from scratch. So when I started, I tried to work on a 5-week cycle menu where we incorporated a few different recipes compared to last year, and kind of incorporated a little bit more scratch cooking rather than convenience items like chicken patties, burgers, and things like that. Although those things aren't going anywhere, but we want to try and incorporate different choices for the students. Free school meals continue, so Massachusetts has built it into their legislation that we are continuing with free meals ever since COVID, which is a good thing because it helps with student participation. And just some numbers that you can see at the bottom is meal participation. Since the start of the school year, we have served 14,793 breakfasts and 23,054 lunches, totaling 37,847 meals, and that is about almost 2,000 more meals compared to this time last year. So these are just some pictures of the new recipes. We tried to do some different breakfast items. So we have the cheesy potato, egg, and bacon bake with sweet potato hash, which was local. The sweet potatoes were local. The buffalo chicken rice dip with celery and carrots, the chicken kung pao bowl, and birthday cake yogurt granola parfaits.
Which are delicious, and I have about 2 a week. Just to throw it out there.
Just to kind of feature some community involvement, we did a Community Veterans Day breakfast at the elementary school. So here are some pictures of the breakfast that they put on. Oh, and then this is really exciting and fun. We did this last week, actually. So this was a taste test for the primary school, and I did delicata squash smiles. They were roasted with brown sugar and a little bit of olive oil, and they're from Wardsberry Farm. I did a little presentation about them, why they are, what nutrients they have, when they're in season, for the primary students, which they liked, and a lot of them did try it, which was good. I had to coerce them with a sticker, but.
They had their hands up before the sticker.
But yes, they did get a sticker for trying, and a lot of them did like it, and they, thought it, of course, had a little bit of sweetness because of the brown sugar, but they thought it was good, and it was a fun thing to do for them. Okay, and so some goals that I have for the rest of the year is to continue to increase meal participation by introducing new menu items, getting feedback from our students on what they would like to see on the menu, implement monthly educational lessons during lunchtime. So the taste testing that I did, I would like to do that not only at primary, but at elementary. Tried to do it at least every other month or so. If I can get to it every single month, that would be amazing. Introduce more local produce, teach students where our food comes from and how it benefits them in their daily activities. Of course, monthly staff in-servicing and training to ensure safety, sanitation, and financial compliance are being met throughout the year. One of my goals is to eventually transition to a new software system called Mosaic. Right now we are on NutriKids, which is a little bit of an outdated POS menu planning system, and Mosaic is cloud-based, so it's much more efficient, and there's a lot more you can do on their menu planning software.
What's a POS system for people who may not?
Point of sale.
What does that mean?
So the registers, when the students come up, that's the point of sale. So when they're cashing them out on there. But then we have a back of the house program where I build the menus on. So this will allow for quicker service at lunchtime, accurate nutritionals, better menu planning software that will improve the overall lunch program. And lastly, I'm working to build rapport and relationships with the building principals, staff, and students to offer the best service and nutrition to the students at Douglas. And that's all. Yeah.
Do you want to go to the microphone?
Oh, yeah. You were getting comfortable up there.
Very comfortable back. This was wonderful. Thank you for taking your time to do this for us.
Absolutely.
Mosaic, do we already have that? Is that something we have to buy?
Yeah, so we don't have Mosaic. It is, so NutriKids, so Heartland is the program, and Heartland has several other programs underneath that branch. So currently we have NutriKids, which we've had for years. And Mosaic is basically an upgraded system from NutriKids. It is something that would have to be purchased. We would have to train the staff. It would take, the implementation time takes about 10 weeks. So I would be on meetings with the corporate people from Mosaic, and we would be doing all the back of the house stuff to get prepared, and then coming up with a training plan for the staff before we roll it out.
Do we have a cost for the Mosaic?
We do. Courtney can.
Yeah, actually, and we forgot to mention, so we've already purchased all new POS systems.
Right.
The hardware, which is great, because sometimes at the middle school it would actually go down, because they're all very old. And then the next step is implementing Mosaic, which I looked at before Allison came in, but that wasn't able to be done. But she came and she knew all about it, so we could really hit the ground running. So we have been talking to them. We did get a quote. We're just looking at the training component of it, the cost versus value added for that cost, So we'll be doing that soon. We just both have to look at it again to see, particularly on the training part. We do have plenty of funds in the school lunch revolving account, because you're actually not supposed to carry too much money in that fund. So we have been purchasing equipment and things, and so the next thing was the POS systems, which we did, and then the next thing is Mosaic. And of course, she knows all about it, which is great, so she can help with that implementation as well. So we'll be actually processing that purchase order soon. So, which is fantastic that we can do that.
Would
So-
that take us out of the current system? What's the app that the parents have? I can't even think of it. It's on my phone.
My School Bucks, no, they'll stay on My School Bucks.
It's the
yeah.
same, it'll still
Yep.
feed into the same.
Yep.
I'm like, don't
Good
put
question.
any more new apps on.
No, they will stay on My School Bucks. They can absolutely still upload funds onto that, and then that will also talk to Mosaic. So those funds will show up on there.
That was a good question. I'm glad you asked. We don't want anybody thinking that.
I know everyone's gonna be like, another new app. I love all the fresh local produce. Like, I was so excited to see that on the fridge, on the calendar. I think a lot of parents in town were. That's fabulous. Don't be afraid to take the new foods up to middle school and high school because
I know.
they might do something for a sticker too. Like, you'd be
They'll
surprised.
have to be more creative, I think, as they get older. Definitely. Well, thank you very much.
Do you guys have questions?
No, this is terrific. I love to, and I think I've said this before, when I talk to my kids about their day, the first question I ask them is, what do you have for lunch? So it's just one of those easy topics, and I like to hear what they have, and if they tried stuff. Like my son's been trying a lot of new foods, which he normally wouldn't, and some really creative options. He's like, wow, it was really good. And other times, it wasn't for him, but he's just more engaged with the process. So I'm thrilled about everything you presented and to see what's coming down the line. So thank you. This is such an important part of our children's lives. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do want to.
Thank you.
I do want to say one more thing before Allison leaves. So Allison has been doing a fabulous job, and one of the things that we've also been talking about, and I do want to give a shout out too for all of the food service staff. They do a phenomenal job. They have been stepping up, and even if something has been uncomfortable with, when Raquel was here before doing the scratch cooking, and Allison is continuing with that as well, that back then it was brand new for them, and it was a really new thing, and they all stepped up, and it's just been fabulous to see. And we actually had during our, one more thing, we had our evacuation of the elementary school last week, and just the timing was such that I saw Diana Houle, when all the kids were in the auditorium, and she said, oh, about the breakfast. I said, oh, what are you going to do? She said, no problem at all. When they all go in, we'll get their breakfast. And, they just roll with it. Right, Allison? All of the schools, they do a
They are
fantastic
all
job.
really good, and they all want
Yeah.
to help each other out, too, so.
Yeah.
But they do an awesome job. I'm very thankful for good staff, and we are fully staffed. Starting next week, when we get
That's
one more
amazing.
person hired. But yes.
Amazing.
Are all of our cafeteria staff, like Heimlich trained, CPR trained? I don't know what that falls under.
I believe so. I'd have to double check, but I think so. I'm pretty sure they are.
CPR. No,
Yeah.
CPR.
Is it CPR?
CPR. It's
I'm
late.
like,
It's
what
late.
does Heimlich fall under? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have
I don't know
to,
if they're all CPR.
I'd have to double check that.
They do have required training.
Yeah.
They have to have, in food service. Now, whether or not it's a full, I
No, I was
can't
just thinking
recall.
with the kids. I'm like,
Yeah.
So we have, every year,
Recall specifically what it is.
Jen Walker, our nurse at the primary schools, put together CPR training. So we do 2 sessions. I think the maximum you can do per session is 8 to 10 people. So we're running in January 2 sessions for training. And I know one of the things that came up was to make sure that, obviously we have key people trained, but to make sure people in the cafeteria, not necessarily the cafeteria workers, but the people who are in the cafeteria doing duty are trained. So it may not be CAF people, but we can look at that and doing another training. I think it's roughly about 125.
And they might already have, I'm just not sure exactly what
Yeah,
the training
we have
is.
yeah,
roughly
just
about.
making sure someone in the CAF,
Oh, yeah.
whoever's
Oh, yeah, yeah,
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Just when you said hiring
Yeah.
staff, I was like, do they have to do that? I don't know.
2 trainings going on in January. I think there's a third year doing it,
Okay.
that I know of.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
you. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you, Allison.
Thank you. Do we have any topics not anticipated?
Well, I just had one more thing,
You
quick
sure?
thing,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yes. it's
So
okay.
I just wanted to give a big shout out to my assistant to the business manager for payroll, and Jean Lovett, the finance director, town accountant. we had probably the biggest retro that we've had to do for the DESPA unit. Okay, and you know how payroll, it takes a lot, very short time frame. It's every other week, never mind all the accounts payable and everything else that goes on and when we need to get done. But it was an enormous amount of work. They did a fantastic job. It took 6 people being involved, but it was really mostly Ellen and Jean, but also Holly as well on the town side, and all of us in our office actually assisting as well. So I just wanted to say thank you and how much I appreciate it. And I know that for, Jean Lovett, she didn't know it was exactly when it was coming, but we just, she fit it right in there as quickly as she could, and then we had to turn right around and do another regular payroll. So just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Awesome. Well, if we have nothing else, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Look at the time. I move to adjourn the November 20th, 2024 meeting at 7:21 PM.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by? Meg. Roll call vote, please.
Teresa Brooks, aye.
Meg Rotz and I.
Hannah Moore and I.
Julia Lagerholm, aye.
Beth Bergstrom, aye. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for letting me join from afar. Well,
Thank
not that
you.
far, but
Thank you.
not as far as Evan.
Good night, all.
Hey, good
Good night.
night.
Night.